I want to ask about your war in Iran. And Mr. Hegseth, you testified earlier today that $25 billion has been spent to date. I just want to clarify.
Maggie Goodlander came prepared, focused, and armed with receipts during today's House Armed Services Committee hearing as she directly confronted Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth over his own past comments and statements.
Chair, I recognize a gentlelady from New Hampshire, Ms. Goodlander.
I want to thank our witnesses for being here today, and I want to begin by getting right to it, since my time is limited, on this $1.5 trillion budget request. Mr. Hegseth, you testified last year and you testified again today that you will be accountable for every American taxpayer dollar that comes to the department, where it goes and why. That's really important since, as has been pointed out, the department has failed 8 audits. The department remains on GAO's high-risk list. The Inspector General just last year alone identified billions of dollars that could have been put to better use, and in questioned costs, that is spending that raised red flags. So this is a crisis right now in accountability of where the dollars of the American taxpayers who are in the middle of a cost crisis, where this money is going. I want to ask about your war in Iran. And Mr. Hegseth, you testified earlier today that $25 billion has been spent to date. I just want to clarify that that is money, that taxpayer dollars that have been spent already in this war.
$25 reflects the costs of the war, right? So we've already spent the dollars on munitions and things like that. So we're factoring in cost of munitions expended into that total.
So how much of that has gone towards munitions? Does that include the munitions that have been spent to date?
Yeah, that reflects the munitions that have been spent to date and other operational costs.
Can you give us a breakdown of what those costs are?
We'll work to get you guys a product that has a detailed breakdown of those costs.
Yeah, my concern here is, Mr. Hegseth, you've testified repeatedly that you're going to be accountable for each and every American taxpayer dollar that you spend, that you're going to be accountable for the rationale. Here we are 60 days in to your war of choice in Iran, and you can't give us an answer on a breakdown of the basic breakdown of American taxpayer dollars that have been spent in your war of choice? That's a question for Mr. Hegseth. Right now, as you sit here now, you
We're
cannot...
happy to give you a breakdown. We'll provide you a product after this hearing.
Well, I would love for you to give us this breakdown now and explain to us, was this unbudgeted costs, or was this something the department planned for in advance, since you were appropriated $1 trillion last year?
The department deals with contingency operations all the time within its normal budget.
So this was not budgeted for. My point here is, you know, and General Kane, you've testified to this. We all understand, for you to do your jobs, you need Congress to pass budgets. For us to do our jobs, we need you to give us the details and to be accountable to American taxpayers. And so I got to say, it's an extraordinary dereliction that as you sit here, you cannot account for billions of dollars that have already been spent.
You're briefed on munitions every week. You and your entire staff have every, just so the American public know, it's not as if you don't have munitions levels. You do from us every single week. So you know exactly the numbers you're talking about.
Mr. Hegseth, you have testified that American taxpayers need to know where their dollars are going. And as you sit here today, you can't provide us with a basic answer to the most simple question that you should be able to answer to each and every American taxpayer.
You're asking a question to an answer with an answer you already have.
No, I'm asking you for a breakdown where you said you will be accountable for every taxpayer dollar. You cannot tell us where any of the $25 billion in taxpayer funds that have gone to fund your war of choice in Iran. And I look forward to getting details from our witnesses after this hearing, because the American taxpayers need to know. Mr. Hegseth, can I ask you, do you know what the average cost of a gallon of gas was in this country on February 28th?
Well, it depends on where you live. If you live in California, it's $8.
$2.83. Do you know what the average cost of a gallon of gas is today?
Well, much higher in California.
$4.23. I got to say, Mr. Hegseth, you said you've got a crack economic team that's looking at the impacts of this war on the American taxpayer, and you can't answer this basic question, that should shock the conscience of every American. General Kane, I want to come back to something, a really important principle, and my time is limited. You testified to an important and bedrock principle of American law, that our service members follow lawful orders and lawful orders only. Is that right? Do you agree with the statement, quote, "The military won't follow unlawful orders"?
I do.
Mr. Hegseth, do you agree with that statement?
I do, but understand what you're insinuating at a partisan point.
I'm not. I'm actually quoting you directly, Mr. Hegseth, from April 12th, 2016. And I appreciate that on the record, you've clarified this important principle of American law.
Gentlelady's time's expired.
The exchange immediately grabbed attention when Goodlander pushed back against Hegseth's attempts to distance himself from previous remarks. At one point, she sharply reminded him, "I'm actually quoting you directly, Mr. Hegseth," making it clear that this wasn't speculation or political spin. She was using his own words against him. Throughout the hearing, Goodlander maintained a calm but aggressive line of questioning, repeatedly pressing Hegseth on consistency, accountability, and credibility. Instead of broad political attacks, she focused on documented statements and prior positions, creating a tense moment that forced the secretary to respond under pressure. The hearing itself centered on national defense priorities, military leadership, and oversight issues, but this exchange quickly became one of the standout moments because of how methodically Goodlander approached it. Rather than speaking in generalities, she cited exact language and challenged Hegseth to explain apparent contradictions between what he previously said publicly and what he was now saying before Congress. For Hegseth, the hearing represented another high-profile appearance under growing scrutiny. Since stepping into the role of defense secretary, he has faced criticism from Democrats over military policy, leadership decisions, and comments made before taking office. Republicans, meanwhile, have largely defended him as someone willing to challenge Pentagon bureaucracy and push for a different direction in defense policy. Goodlander's strategy during the hearing reflected a broader Democratic approach, using past interviews, speeches, and public statements to question whether administration officials are being fully transparent with Congress and the American people. By repeatedly emphasizing that she was quoting him directly, she attempted to remove any room for dismissal or claims of misinterpretation. The tone in the room shifted noticeably during the exchange. Members listened closely as Goodlander read back portions of Hegseth's previous remarks, while Hegseth tried to clarify context and defend his current position. But Goodlander kept the pressure on, signaling that she believed the record spoke for itself. Moments like this often become politically significant because they go beyond policy details and turn into tests of credibility. Congressional hearings are not only about gathering information, they're also public accountability forums where lawmakers try to expose inconsistencies, score political points, and shape public perception. For supporters of Goodlander, the exchange showcased disciplined preparation and sharp prosecutorial style questioning. For supporters of Hegseth, it may reinforce the idea that administration officials are facing increasingly combative oversight from Democratic lawmakers determined to challenge every statement and decision.